90 minutes with you. We know you had some agonising choices to make regarding the 3 sessions this morning, and we're really thrilled that you've decided to spend the next 90 minutes with us. So we're going to just overview what we're going to do, and the session's really split into 2, so we'll describe that to you in just a moment. But we'll first just start off by overviewing. Oh no, we're going to do it right now. There we go. Here's a slide we prepared earlier. So this is an overview of what we're going to cover.
So we're going to talk about just a very short development of the 16 style types, and we've got our co-creator here, Jane, who, if you went to her session last year, this is, she covered a lot of that. This is not what we're doing today, but we'll just give you a brief insight if you didn't go to Jane's session. So the information about enclosed cognition, which I will explain to you soon enough, how your clothing is communicating, what we call the 4 super styles, which is the core of what we call your style type, interaction and application. We're going to have some fun, we've got some activities, you'll learn some stuff, you'll get to apply something. And then of course understanding how you can go away and start developing your own authentic style expression.
Absolutely. So authentic style expression is really at the heart of everything that we do, and we feel we have something unique to offer in the world of both self-discovery, self-development and in style. Bringing some richness and depth to a topic that has often been reduced to 10 things you need to have in your wardrobe. And so we're going to go beyond all of that and talk about the depth that what we wear, how it can affect how we feel about ourselves, and how there's a circular relationship between our type and our style. We're going to introduce ourselves, just a little bit about who we are, so you know who you're spending the next 90 minutes with. So I'll start with myself. My name is Jill Chivers. I have been a type practitioner for 20 years. I spent the bulk of my corporate career using type in leadership kinds of programs. One of the programs that I designed was a 2-day leadership experience for professional services. It was rated the #1 program out of 90 programs for a global professional services firm. Still one of my career highlights. We would have L&D ringing to say, we have a waiting list. What are you doing to these people who normally delete our emails? How is it that people are ringing us up saying, where's the next program? And that was a really creative program that I feel really proud to have designed and delivered to a very, very discerning and hard to please audience. I myself worked for Deloitte for many years, so grew up in professional services, working all over the world on IT projects. My interest in style has been lifelong. It started with my Barbie dolls and has never really abated since then. 10 years ago, I started a personal challenge to have a year without clothes shopping, and I blogged about that and appeared in over 50 media stories in Australia, New Zealand, America and other places around the world, talking about conscious consumption. And then our project really started to develop about 4 or 5 years ago, when the 3 of us were having individual conversations and then we all came together. For me, Style Types is a lifelong professional and personal dream, and standing here with you is really just a big part of why I feel I was put on the planet.
I'm Imogen Lamport. So I have an image consulting background, so that is what I spend my days doing, help people understand how who they are can be expressed through their clothing. And there's a whole science behind it. Now, there are some people who naturally have a ability to style and have a real, easy ability to just get up, get dressed, put on something great, feel good, and look good. And there's other of us who get up in the morning and go, I have no idea what to wear, I don't know how to put these together, I don't know what suits me, all those sorts of things. And some people just give up and they just go, I'm just not even going to go into that space. But there's people like me who will teach you. So to me, style does not have to, you don't have to be born with it at all. You can learn everything, and I've learned everything. If you ever look back, in fact I did a blog post the other day about how you don't have to be born with it. I've got some photos of my pre-image consulting days, and they're pretty terrible. And I thought I looked good in them. So, and I have always been interested in, and I've always found with my clients, I know there's a really strong correlation between what you choose to wear and your personality. So one of the things I try to do is to get inside my clients' heads, and so that when I'm out shopping with them, I can go, okay, I'll pick up the things that they will like. It's not about me, not what I like, it's about them. And this is why if you walk into a department store and you look around and you think, who on earth would wear that thing? It's because it's not your personality. And so I have a whole language, there's a whole there's a whole lot of research around different personality traits and what we tend to choose to wear. And when you understand that, you can go, oh, that's why I like this and hate that. And we've all wasted money. Like, we don't live in a nudist society, thank God. So we all have to make a decision to get up and get dressed. And one of the things people often say, they'll say, well, I don't notice what other people wear, or I don't care. And what's really interesting is I say, well, okay, well, then how about I'm going to put you in a clown suit? How does that feel? And suddenly it's like, oh, actually, I do care. Oh, maybe I don't want to wear that outrageous sombrero and some moon boots. Maybe that's not me. The gimp mask, definitely not. Like, and there's some extreme examples. But even with, like Jane will tell you she just doesn't wear frills. Feels very uncomfortable. And I had an interesting experience with one of my students was from Christchurch in New Zealand. And you may all know that they had big earthquakes. Her house was destroyed so badly in the earthquakes, she wasn't allowed to go home for 3 weeks till they made it safe enough so she could go and get stuff out. So she had 3 weeks. She'd left to go to work, policewoman, had a uniform, couldn't go home and get any other clothes. So people were friends were giving her stuff, and she said, but they're not my clothes. And that's the thing that we often feel, is that it's me. Our clothes are actually the thing that stops us from being naked. They're actually incredibly personal. And we'll feel right or wrong in different clothing. And this is why style is so much more than skin deep. And we'll just get Jane to quickly introduce herself.
I'm Jane Kesey, as most of you know. Jill dressed me this morning. I am the research side of 16 style types. And, this started with Jill and me op shopping one day up in Milani, was it?
Yeah, probably.
And we had to stop for a flat white because it's quite strenuous, op shopping. And Jill said, do you think, actually she said, Jane, do you think do you think there's a connection between type and style? And we know it's, so many systems are only about color or body shape. And, because type is about taking in information and making decisions, we're getting at the heart of how do you get to that authentic you, where the decisions you make are ones where you go, yes, I'm comfortable in what I'm wearing. It makes the statement I want. And I had a few people, when we were lining up the critical incident interviews to go deep on what this all means, I had a couple people say, isn't this a rather frivolous topic for you to take on? You've done spirituality and all this. And I said, how much money have you wasted on clothing that you never wear? And they said, oh. And so, this is important. Or we've lost opportunities because we're not expressing ourselves. So I default to them on the style information and have learned so much from the two of them. But it's been a wonderful discovery process and figuring out how to take a theory that's mainly been used for communication, change, and other things and apply it to something so personal.
So 16 style types really did come about because of two separate conversations. One I was having with Jane, and then another one that I was having with Imogen. Imogen has developed some of the most innovative tools in the field of image consulting. She really is an innovator and a global leader. She's recently won the Jane Segerstrom Award for services rendered to the image consulting international community. And so my conversations with Imogen were very much along the lines of, what do you think we could develop that would enhance what's happening in the style field? And would you be interested in learning about psychological type and developing 16 categories of style? And the answer to that was yes, and then the three of us came together. And on the next page, we are giving you just a little snapshot of what the report looks like. And we brought along an ISTP report that you can have a look at. The report is 30 pages long, and it covers various elements of what we refer to as your style essence. We don't tell you what to wear. Your style type cannot tell you that. Just like learning about your type cannot tell you who to marry or what career to have. It can give you some general guidance. I'm sorry about that. It can point you in a particular direction. It can tell you some of the hurdles you might face if you choose one over the other. And like that, what we've found with style is that what we can share with you is about the motivations, the place that style might have in your life, your strengths, your challenges, when you feel your most stylish, the style blueprint that you might follow as your style progresses over your life. So it really is all about the internal journey that you have with style. And all of us are on a journey, whether or not we embrace it and feel excited about it, whether or not it's really just lurching from one non-naked moment to the next non-naked moment. All of us are on some kind of style journey. And what we hope to do is raise your consciousness about that and raise your level of enjoyment, so the result is you feel authentic all of the time. That's what our goal is with 16 Style Types. So our presentation now, we're going to spend the next half an hour, 45 minutes or so with Imogen leading you through some really interesting territory when it comes to style concepts and how our clothing communicates. And then we're going to spend the last portion of the session talking about super styles and your style journey. And we've got some discussion and resources to share with you around that. So I'll be chipping in over the next little while, but really Imogen will be taking us through the next half an hour, 40 minutes.
So we talk about style, not fashion. You might notice that. And it's because I think of style is your house. Fashion is the hammer, the tool that helps you build the house, but it's not your house. Authentic style is your home. It's where you come home to. So this is why we use the word style rather than fashion, because fashion comes in and out, it changes. It's actually just a big industry. Fashion is an industry that makes you want to buy things. That's really what it is. They're all about making money. They're not actually about making you look good, and this is very fascinating. I've got quite a few friends who work in the fashion industry at various retailers at the production end. And I say, do you ever have a meeting where you sit down and say, you know, this is going to be a really flattering garment for most women who've got bigger hips, or this is going to be a really flattering garment for a woman who's got a bit of a tummy? No. No, we just talk about how many units of something like this we sold last season. So when you go shopping, we have this assumption they're trying to make us look good. They're not. So they're just trying to sell some stuff. And this is what, there's all sorts of stuff I could get into here, but I just think it's an important thing to know that, because we can often put so much stuff on ourselves when we're going out, we're buying clothes, we're going, I look terrible, I feel bad, there's something wrong with me. And this is why a lot of people reject style as a whole, because they can feel that, well, it's not for me because what is out there is not working. And so I think this is really why, kind of understanding your own style principles and all those sorts of things can be really useful, and understanding your style type can help you feel like, actually I am okay. And then I'll just go that fashion is the hammer. And the hammer is a useful tool, but it's certainly not my home. Can't live in a hammer. So there is a field of study called enclothed cognition. It's in the social sciences area. And what they've found is that people relate to the symbolism of different clothes. So if you want to exercise more, if you put on your exercise clothes, you are more likely to go and exercise. You might not always, but by wearing the clothes of an exerciser, you might be seen as someone who goes to exercise. You might actually go, well, I will actually get up and go for that walk, and do those sorts of things. They've done some fascinating research using white lab coats. And what they did is they did multiple experiments, and I'm going to give you a link in the handout if you want to go and read all this stuff. They got a bunch of people and they split them up into different groups and they told them different things. They made them do multiple things like intelligent tests and various other tests. And they got a baseline where they just came in their own clothes and did the stuff, and then they gave them these white lab coats. They told half the people, you're wearing a painter's, like an artistic painter's coat. They told the other half they were wearing a doctor's coat. Then they did all these things again, and guess which people scored higher in the second test? The doctor's coat. Because when we associate, doctor's an intelligent person, so I'm wearing a doctor's coat, I must be more intelligent, and actually they took more time and care over the questions and over the tasks they were asked to do. So when people say what you wear doesn't matter, it's a load of garbage, because actually it changes us so much. It changes our intelligence. You can raise a few IQ points by wearing a doctor's coat to your next IQ test. So, who tells me, nobody notices what I wear, I'm not judging people? Are we judging people? Do we think this guy is two very different people? So, would you want to go on the left and ask him for some, advice about your mental health? Anybody?
What's the specialty?
We don't know anything about him. Like there's, you know, but you go, oh, like, or do you go, oh, I think I'll get into babysit my kids. I don't know. I don't know the man. Like, you know, we make a lot of judgments about people. So when people say I don't make judgments, we all are making judgments. We all judge books by their covers. This is why so much time and money and energy is spent deciding what the cover's going to be. We all judge products by their packaging. This is why if you put some black packaging on some certain things, we will pay more money for them. So there's masses of research around this, and as much as you might not like it, we're all doing it. It's a really fast way of communicating something. And so this is where, when you understand what your clothes are communicating, it makes it really easy to go, well, who am I seeing today? What am I doing? What do I want to communicate? I'm going to make it easy for myself. I'm going to make it so much easier for people to listen to me, listen to my ideas, take me as credible, if that's what I want, or maybe I want to be fun. Maybe I want to be, you know, exciting.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is I find myself objecting to the idea that I might judge the man on the left harshly. I personally am challenged by that idea. But I know it's true because when Imogen says it's a fast way to communicate something, what I find myself doing with the man on the left is spending an inordinate amount of time working against my first impression. Spending a lot of time saying, he's probably a really good bloke.
Yeah.
He probably got those tattoos really young and now he regrets them. It might have, he was gardening or working on his 1966 Mustang, and that's when the photo was. I spent all of this time adjusting for any negatives that might come with that. And of course all of that could be true. And it's the time period and it's the level of emotional energy that goes into it that's important when it comes to these instant impressions that we make, that everybody is hardwired into us.
I mean, I remember going to a networking event and I met a woman, and this was like probably 2004 or something, so a few years ago, but she was dressed from about 1984. So she's about 20 years out of date. The hairstyle, everything about her, the clothes, the fabric, the whole lot. And she said, you know, I said, what do you do? She said, I'm a database programmer. And in my head, it immediately goes, what, Lotus 123? You know, and it's that sort of thing where it's like, if you look like you're stuck in the past, I don't think your ideas are keeping up with the now. And so, as much as, you know, she might have been a great database programmer and she might have been up with the latest technology, but I basically shut down based on her appearance, which is a terrible thing to do, but we're all doing it. So I think when you're thinking about what are you communicating, what do you want to communicate, and how does your visual image impact on others is something really worth thinking about, because quite often we can be a little bit unaware. We can be a bit oblivious, we don't realise, and then we'll have some good experiences and not so good experiences, and we can go, well, why was that one good? Well, I don't think I did anything different. And sometimes it can be as simple as your appearance. And there's all sorts of research that shows that personal presentation will earn you up to at least 10% more, 25% in China, versus poor personal presentation will earn you 10% less than average. And that's, you know, fairly global. There's slightly differences depending on America, China, various places, but they're, you know, just going, and that's not doing any different amount of work. So I think most of us prefer to earn the more money without doing any extra work, but you know, that's up to you. So now, we're going to have a few little table discussions. So that's where we've put you on some tables, and we've got some little thought ideas for you to chat about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I put in one thing from,
Yes.
you know, one of the more interesting things was an introvert in our interview saying, I want to make sure I'm in clothing that's acceptable so that if I'm noticed, it's for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And not for somebody going, I can't believe someone wore that. You know, so very interesting flip on what you might think.
Yeah.
You like we come to conferences and we often remember the food, and it's like I think we've got international presenters who've done PhDs and they're talking about this amazing stuff, and we go, could you get a load of that lunch? I mean, really, it's a little bit like like that when it comes to style. Sometimes you think, well, what about me with all my brilliant ideas and all this stuff that I've done, and all you remember is that my clothes are out of date? I mean, how unfair is this? There's a little bit of a link there.
But
Yes.
there's always the question, those of us who've run conferences and training programs, people, what's the dress code? What? So whoever invented neat casual, that's very clever. It covers everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, interesting. I was working in the corporate world when the transition from business wear to smart casual just used to be Fridays, and I cannot tell you the disruption. I was working for Deloitte at the time, hugely disruptive, and I would suggest hit the bottom line resoundingly. All the effort that went into that.
Actually tell you, so I had a flatmate back in the early 90s who worked for Telstra call centre, this is before they went offshore. And when Casual Photo came in, now because call centres monitor productivity to the nth degree, productivity went down by 30%. So when people say what you wear doesn't matter, you go, your productivity is falling by 30% because people are dressing casually. I actually think that's telling you something. So let's move on. What I want you to do is have a look at these people here. It's all probably a fairly similar person. And who is the most authoritative person? That one here, isn't it?
Yes.
Who's the most fun?
They're all the same.
Second one.
Who's white?
The latest group.
That one. So who's more fun here?
Shirts out.
On the right.
This one or this one? This one. You know, who's going to be the stickler for time? So what you've just done is red clothes. Now we're all doing it all the time, and in fact, who here watches movies? I know Daniel does, he's doing a session on it. Who here watches television? So every piece of clothing that is put on a character is very carefully selected. And we are reading clothes all the time. So as much as you might think, I don't know what it means, if you've actually watched television or movies, if I want to turn a dude into a nerd, what do I have to do? Glasses. Pocket protector, bunch of pockets, short sleeves, slightly too short tie, little ill-fitting, you know, maybe even a little band-aid or something on his glasses because they're falling to pieces.
Or just Sheldon.
Just, yeah. But this is where, you know, there's a lot of visual indicators that says things about people's personality. So there's a half an hour of boring dialogue and backstory we don't need, because what the costumes are doing is giving us all the information we need about the character.
You said the guy on the left is a stickler for time. He's rushing because he's left his belt.
Well said.
Yes, so what we're going to do is give you a little handout. Do you want me to do that?
In that direction.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And talk a little bit about yin and yang, which is a concept that covers like so many things, but in our design and aesthetic world.
So Imogen works with the concepts of yin and yang a lot in her work, and it is a really intriguing link to style. And what she has done, and one of the reasons she's an innovator in the world of image, is she has matched the concepts of yin and yang to style concepts. So yin and yang is a very ancient, we think it's about 3,500 years old, comes from the I Ching, the Book of Change, and is really about competing, coexisting, complementary pairs or dichotomies, forces, light and dark, cold and hot, warm and cool, female, male, passive, active, those kinds of things. The symbol, most of us are familiar with it. The thing I did want to point out is that the opposite colour is always included, encircled in its opposite. So what we're going to do now is run through some concepts. You have a handout there so you don't have to be taking massive notes, that describes this shorthand and how it relates to clothes, and then there'll be another activity. So Imogen's just going to run through some slides with some images on it. Oh, sorry, you want to do this one? And then there'll be an activity. So just a little bit of content coming at you for the next little while.
So yin and yang is very much a shorthand of design elements. I'm not the only one who's worked on this. There's a bunch of people, and you'll see it in so many things. You see it in architecture and art, and you'll see it in cowboy hats of cowboy movies. So the goodie wore which colour hat? White hat. And the baddie wore the black hat. You know, this sort of symbolism has been used in so many things, and this just gives you a really easy understanding. So when you're going, I've got no idea what to wear, what do normal people wear? This is going to give you a whole lot of tools to use. So you're going to find it so much easier after today. So what it can do is help you create greater harmony with your own personality. Because part of it is like Andrew was saying, well, but I don't necessarily want to do that. But you go, so what you can do is use this information to go, well, if this is what it's communicating, I'm going to choose the pieces that work for me. I don't have to do those ones, but I can do these ones. It's still going to communicate in the same way. And I think this is where it's great when you can work with your own personality. It creates balance with your physical appearance as well. You can communicate messages with no words. You can create dress codes for yourself or others, or understand what dress codes are actually telling you. And also help you create a wardrobe that actually works for you and your lifestyle. So as Jill was saying before, there's a bunch of different ways we can look at yin and yang. So yin is often seen as more feminine, receding, soft and approachable. So if I want to be seen as friendly and approachable when I'm going into an environment, I will wear more yin-based clothes. If I want to be seen as more masculine, more advancing, more powerful, more authoritative, more strong, I'll be wearing more yang base in my clothing. And what that will do is it will send out subtle messages that people will pick up because we're reading clothes all the time, and it'll actually, help people to understand what I'm saying. I mean, even in language, if I have two shapes, I'm going to draw these two shapes for you. Now, one of them is called a takak. The other one is called an olivio. Which one is the takak and which one is the olivio? Olivio? Takak? Because soft sounds, soft shapes. Hard sounds, hard shapes. So this works in all parts of our environment. It's not just what we see, sounds, all those sorts of things. I mean, music in movies, and music, expresses a lot of different moods, doesn't it? So, if I want to feel, relaxed, I'm not going to listen to thrash metal. Well, not me anyway. Some people might. That's a very yang sort of musical style. So, on your handout, you've got a bunch of information here. So you've got how the different lines and shapes and textures and patterns and accessories are communicating. So when we look at yin elements of clothing, we're seeing curved lines. So we think about that curved shape. Broken lines, thin lines, horizontal, curved shapes, small shapes, sheer fabrics, thinner fabrics, lightweight. This is all, we would describe this as quite feminine clothing, isn't it? And so this is why the yin is seen as more feminine. And it's one of the reasons why women often have a harder time getting recognised at work, is because women are more naturally yin on the whole. Most of us. It's just part of we're smaller, we're shorter, we're higher voice. There's a whole lot of things around this that actually relate back to the yin that is more feminine. And you can see we've got the sheer fabrics, we've got softness, flowy, all those sorts of things. When we look at the yang, these are much stronger, more powerful, more bold, aren't they? Now, these are women's clothes, but they're closer to men's clothing. And if we actually think about when we talk about classic clothes, it comes from men's suiting. There was no such thing as classic clothes for women until the First World War, when women started wearing men's clothes and taking their jobs because the men were off fighting. And so women went, well, if I'm going into the office or I'm doing these things, or I need to start wearing those sorts of structured clothes. It gives you more authority. So we can see here we've got more geometric prints, we've got sharper lines, more structured, more angled. We might have brighter colours, large scale patterns, more vertical. If you think about men are taller on average than women, so it's more vertical, it's taller, it's higher. We have to look up. And one of the things that often people say, why is it? So there's some research that shows that in Fortune 500 companies, the percentage of male CEOs is already insanely high, but then of male CEOs over 6 foot tall is also really high. Now, men over 6 foot tall is only about 20% of the male population. But yet, they get all the good jobs. And why is that? Well, if you think about it, when you're a child, who tells you what to do? Everyone who's taller than you. So we automatically give people with height authority. So even as adults, when we think, well, we're all equal now, we're still, it's from, because we've been doing it since we were a child, we're still giving that authority to the taller people. And then even with colour. So with colour, we've got cooler, lighter, more muted colours. They're more receding, they don't jump out as much. Versus our yang are our brighter colours, but also our dark colours. Now, if you're in Eastern countries, they a little bit opposite sort of stuff, because white is actually more visually advancing, but we give black more power. This is why the priest has black robes.
Judges.
The judge has a black robe. Business. Why did we choose the person in the dark suit? Because that is more powerful. Now, why is this? When you think about colour psychology, if it's a nice day, it's a blue sky, trust me, I won't rain on you, you don't need your umbrella, everything's lovely. And you'll notice, particularly if you're in England, on a day where the sun suddenly shines, the mood lifts insanely. I remember when I lived over there for a couple of years, and we went through a period of grey day, 3 months, not 1 second of sunshine. And then the first day of sunshine, the whole feeling where I worked was completely different. So then if we think about that big black cloud comes along, that, thunderstorm cloud, how do we describe that?
Threatening.
Threatening, ominous. This is why we give dark colours much more power. What was really interesting? So some of you may know I used to be a brunette. I was born brunette. I spent most of my life brunette. Never even imagined I'd ever be a blonde in my life, but here I am. When I changed my hair colour, people said to me, "You're friendlier." I hadn't changed, just my hair colour. But it's that perception of going from dark to light made me friendlier, because it is more receding. It's less powerful. And I've had clients actually where we've gone, you need to stop being a blonde because you're not getting taken seriously as a lawyer. We're going to just darken you up a bit with the hair. So if we're looking at these clothes, so here are some examples of just jackets where you can change small elements of the structure, and you'll see that it goes from much softer, more approachable, more casual, to harder. Well, that one's a more rebellious end, isn't it? We've got more the motorcycle jacket. Here, we've got the much more corporate, powerful, more formal. And that's just by making some subtle changes. So if I want to go, well, I need to wear a jacket to work, but it's casual Friday, I'll probably go more this end. But if I've got some serious meeting, I might go that end. So when you're going, well, what do I wear? Sometimes it's going, well, how can I use this to go, okay, well, I want to be seen as friendly. That might not be the one to wear. And this might not be either, unless I want to be in a biker gang, and then absolutely that's the right thing to wear. So you've got all this in your little handout. What I want you to do is looking at, you've got these sets of words in your handout, I think. You'll see there that more yin, what does it communicate? It communicates a more warm, more nurturing, more friendly, more gentle, soft and caring, flexible, more subtle, more casual and more informal. And you'll see with the image here, we've got more flowing fabrics, kind of a bitty pattern, lighter, lower contrast. Suede, not leather. Suede is always softer than leather. It's never as formal as leather. Delicateness in the clothes. If we compare this to the yang, you'll see here what it says, I'm more intense, more bold, more decisive, business-like, professional. So if you go, I need to be seen more professionally, then I need to add yang elements of clothing to my outfit. And here we've got more structure, we've got a bolder contrast, we've got darker colours. We've got sharp, more angled jewellery there. We've got more pointy-toed shoes. The SS didn't choose a black uniform for no reason. And so they are really, kind of interesting. So when you're looking at any character, if you're interested in movies and stuff, start looking at, well, what are they actually wearing? What are they communicating with us? Did anybody here watch Mad Men? Yeah. There was really fascinating stuff with their clothes, just of the main three women. So if you were Peggy was the woman in the man's world. She wore checks and stripes and straight dresses. Versus you had Betty, who was the kind of flighty one, and she was all curves and butterflies and spots and a little bit ditzy. They could never have worn their, the same clothes from one character to the other. It just wouldn't have worked. So, unmasking yourself. Actually, Yang appearance, dark hair, high contrast, very tall, big, deep voice, all those things. Sometimes you need to be going like, nobody ever sees me as approachable, so then I might need to soften down what I wear so that people will see that, rather than wearing all the structured clothes. So this is where often it's going, well, what do I want to do today? Or is nobody, if you're a woman and you're 5 foot tall and all the guys you work with are 6 foot tall, and that it's going, I find it hard to be heard. And this is when you go, what I want to do is add more yang to my outfit. I need to get a little bit more structure, a bit more contrast. All those sorts of elements will then make me more seen.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of our beta testers for our online program has preferences for ENTJ. She works in aeronautical, it's a very male-dominated engineering kind of environment. And she was going for this top job, and she was posting pictures of what she was wearing. It was sort of like, if I look at one more red skirt suit, they all starting to blend together a little bit, these power red, structured kinds of suits. Yeah. But, this is what she was wearing to be seen in this environment, to be seen as competitive in this environment, to be capable of this kind of job. It's just so fascinating. Well, we hope you've enjoyed that sort of little introduction. If you are not familiar with Imogen's blog, Inside Out Style blog, please write that down. Inside Out Style blog. Imogen has one of the most popular style blogs. She is Australia's #1 style blogger, and that is based on the statistics. So she writes a fantastic, intelligent blog.
Lots of yin and yang blog posts.
Yeah, if you're interested in exploring more of that, just go into the search and put yin and yang, and there'll be a heap of stuff, as well as so many other things. She's incredibly generous with her knowledge. We hope you've enjoyed that. There's just we could spend the rest of the entire conference talking about this stuff, and still there would be more to talk about. What we'd like to do is move on to talking about the super styles. Would that be okay with people if we moved into that?
Type territory.
Yeah, we'll go back.
So you may want to go back to your original seating and put your seatbelt back on. No, it's not going to be a bumpy one.
Strap in. You're up for a ride.
When we first got started with this, we started with the 16 types, and we wrote 16 reports. And then we thought, we really need to be able to chunk up. And chunking up to 8, of course, is something that we can do in various ways, but we want to be able to chunk up to 4. So we tried on the existing models of 4 that are linked to type. Temperament was one of them. It did not fit. Interaction styles, Linda Behrens, you are a genius. It did not fit. So we found that it was the 2 middle letters. It was the 2 functions that had the clearest relationship, that you could go from the 2 middle letters, and then you could go to the 8 groups, which I'll tell you what those are in a moment. Then you could go to the 16, and there's a through line. It made sense. If you chunk up, then all of the 4 ESTJ of the 4 ST types could relate to ST. All of the 4 SFs style types could relate to SF. And so these were the 4 groups that, when we were looking at smaller number of groups, were the most useful and applicable when it came to type. The 8 groupings are the last 3 letters of your type. We call them type cousins. So my type cousin, having preferences for ESFJ, is ISFJ. From a style perspective, I have more in common with an ISFJ than any of the other 15 types. And so that was also an interesting thing that we found. But of course, your specific style type is really where the magic is at. But we're going to have a bit of a conversation about the 4 super styles, and then what their approach to style is using that. So we're going to, first of all, this is how we organise our type table. Some of you who are familiar with Danielle Poirier's work will recognise this as coming from the Type Dynamics Index. So this is how she organises her 16 style types. I have been working with type for 20 years. I have yet to meet a civilian who understands the type table. All that they can say is, oh, here we are as a team, and there's 5 of us here, and then there's all these boxes missing, and we don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. This model, anybody can get a brief overview of it and really get how it works. Introverted types in the middle, extroverted types on the outside. Intuition and thinking, we have the 4 quadrants going in this direction. We're using Jungian colours. The introverted colours are a more muted version, clearer version on the outside, and we have our 4 quadrants on the outside. If you don't know Danielle Poirier's work, you don't have a copy of her TDI resource, and you work with type a lot, you need to get one. I used it, in my corporate work all the time. Incredibly powerful, and people who don't understand type can get it. Really, really fantastic. So we're going to go around the quadrants and discuss each in turn and see what we can discover about each of the 4 super styles and their approach to style. So let's start with sensing and feeling. What do we know about sensing and feeling? Give me some words to describe sensing and feeling. Soft.
Caring.
Caring. Did you want to write this up? Soft, caring. What else? Detailed. Thank you. Absolutely. What else do we know about sensing and feeling? Fun. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
Aesthetically aware.
Aesthetically aware. The insider trading going on over here. Anything else that, from the SFs that you know, the 4 SF types, what else would you say that they all have in common?
They use all their senses.
Use all of their senses? Yeah. Anyone here with SF preferences?
It's about experiencing others.
Yes.
So that combo, but it's related to people, not so much things.
Yes.
So and there's a real intensity in the moment of experiencing others.
Beautiful.
A real attunement.
Anyone with SF preferences in the room?
You're supposed to.
Just the 2.
Oh, look, we've got one in the room. That's good.
Yes.
More than just Jill.
Yeah. Which is, I'm an amazingly common type in the world, but in the type world, I'm a rare bird.
You feel
Anything else?
special some way, don't you?
Anything else you would say about SFs and the SFs that you know? Anyone got SFs in their life? Yeah? Okay. Anything else you would say about SFs?
They're very helpful.
Helpful!
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
And practical.
And practical, yes. Yeah. We refer to them, this is the a term we're trialling at the moment, is the style aesthetician. So what we found in our research of all the 4 super styles, that the SFs had the greatest natural affinity for style in some dimension. For some, it's in the dimension of clothing. For others, it might be for their home. For some, it's around cooking and presenting beautiful meals. For some, it's gardening. Whatever it is, there is an aesthetic attunement to harmony and beauty. They are finely attuned to beauty, because beauty is about harmony, and harmony is a big driver for SFs. So we have the 4 SF types here. This is the front covers of the 4 SF types. They all have different names. You can see all of this on our website. And here's just a quick snapshot of what we discovered about SFs. They all had their own icons. So this is the icon for SFs. This detailed approach to style, creating a welcoming, friendly look, big component of what SFs are trying to achieve. Now, of course, when you split down to the 4 individual types, the nuances really come out, and those differences certainly do exist. We found that there was a block to each of the super styles. One of them for SFs is being taken seriously, and then finding style, ways in which you can do that help you with the particular motivations and drivers that you have. These will be in the slide pack that you will be getting after the conference. Yeah, so you will be getting all of this
Plus,
information.
if you go on our website, you can find
Yes.
a lot of stuff on there.
How many blog posts do we have now?
I don't even know.
A couple of hundred
Correct.
blog posts, and
Yeah.
quite a few of them are at super style level. Let's talk about sensing and thinking, the STs. Anyone with ST preferences in the room? Not a soul.
It's a bit like an image consultant conference. It's pretty similar. Go to an engineers conference, it'll be a whole lot different. Won't it?
Who has STs in their life? Anyone got STs in their life? Yeah, it's amazing. Jane, Imogen and I, we're all married to ST men. It's just rather incredible, isn't it? They have been zero help with this project. Okay, what do we know about STs? Give us some words.
They're very organised.
Organised?
Planned,
Yeah.
detailed.
Detailed?
Systematic.
Systematic, yeah. Pragmatic. I love that word, pragmatic, yeah. Anything else we know about STs?
Productive.
Deliberate, yes.
Productive.
Productive, yeah.
Actually, image conscious.
Image concept, that's an interesting one. We're going to get to that in a moment. But yes, I like that. Thank you. Anything else that we know?
Grounded.
Grounded. Interesting. Yeah. All three of us are married to different versions of ST, and I would say we would all agree with those words. Yeah, interesting. We've come on.
So much so, we agree with them.
Yes.
We come with the style pragmatist.
The style pragmatist is the term. We're trying this on. We're trying to find words that fit each of them. So the style pragmatist seems to suit STs. You know what was really interesting? Of all the 16 style types, there were 2 that held the most objections to the whole idea that style really even matters. There were a few that could get an idea with the idea that style is about me and my place in the world. There wasn't really an objection to the idea of style. None of these have any objection that style is a resource. It's a tool. It's just something I could use. It can help me mobilise, help me move forward, help me get what I want, help me do things quicker. I can be more efficient in the morning. If I want to climb the corporate ladder, I just want to get the kids into the thing and get to school and drop them off and get to yoga on time. Whatever it is, style is just a tool that I can use. No objections to the idea that style should or shouldn't be used to judge people or any of those kinds of things. Just on board with it, let's use it. Give me the stuff, let's move on. Finished. Thank you very much. So these are some of the things that we have found. Utilitarian, if it's not useful, cannot be used, they really don't have a lot of place in their lives.
Yeah, they're very practical about what they wear. And in fact, one of the things I notice, if I have a client who starts, you know, and if they get the word, like I'm very pragmatic, I'll go, okay, we're at a ST.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of those immediate words that.
Yeah, and we find in helping people come to best with type that these are some of the clues that can really help us if we're getting this from somebody. Yeah, one of the blocks for STs is they can be set and forgetters. Okay, I got it, no, tick, I'm never going to revisit this ever again, and as a result can get a little bit out of date.
Yes, I sorted this out and it never changed. So I suspect the Lotus 123 lady, she felt good in her style back in 1985 and she has not changed.
Yeah, no, her focus was on something else, and something else to her that was much more important than this, which of course is, that's very valid. It is, yeah. Okay, that's ST. Let's move on to intuition thinking. Those preferences for NT in the room, please. Lovely. Thank you. What do you know about yourselves? Give us some words about NTs,
Looking
please.
at the latest trends, I think like trends are important.
Trends are important. Okay, lovely. Thank you. What else?
I'd say opposite. I'd say
Op-
non-conforming.
Non-conforming. Let's put that down as well. I think.
Novelty as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, novelty. Interesting. Yes. Lovely.
Creatives, some.
Some creatives. Interesting. Very interesting. What else from other NTs in the room?
Competence.
Competence. Number one word.
And it's got to look the part.
Well, look the part. Interesting. Anything else from the NTs over here? Intellectual. Intellectual. Yeah. Quite interesting. Yeah. Logical. Yeah. Who has NTs in their life? What else would you say about them?
Logical.
Logical. Yeah. Big picture thinking. Yeah.
Potentially oblivious to
Potentially oblivious. Of the 16 style types, there is one that has the potential to be more oblivious than the
Willfully
other, and they
oblivious.
come from this
Willfully oblivious. I think.
willfully. There can be a little bit. It can be both. They can, Daniel. We can get both here. Yeah, the deliberately oblivious
You
as
find
well
a
as.
difference in male and female thinking here too.
Huh?
Because we wouldn't possibly agree with both NT.
You know, and that would coexist happily within the NT group. You know, if this was an SF conversation, I'd be worried. But for NT, I'm kind of expecting this sort of, you know, differences. Yeah, which is great.
It's more
Sorry, I didn't mean to
towards
cut you.
It's more towards temperament So so like all the NTs have got their new, like the INTP doesn't like their clothes to wear out. You know if they've got
They
something
should
they really
last
like.
forever.
And then the NTP is really like almost the opposite to that. You know, they're wanting something different all the time. So like you're saying, temperament doesn't seem to quite.
Well, it obviously applies for NT and NF because they are two of the temperaments. I never understood why it wasn't SF and ST, but that's a whole other
story.
What do you think we've called the NTs? Give us some words you think that might apply. We'll see whether they match up with what we're trying on.
Something to do with competence or mastery.
Yeah.
Theoretical.
Yeah. We've gone with strategists. We have.
Strategist,
Do you like it?
Yeah.
NTs? Yes, good.
One of the reasons for that is if you go to our website and you go to the 16 Startups page, you'll see the names. Every startup has 2 names, and we didn't want to use one of the other words that we've used for the 4 NT
So
types.
you see
So that cut out a few
Yeah.
words
This
that we
is the
could
style
have used.
theorist already. The INTP
Yeah.
is the style
Yes,
theorist, so we
yeah.
didn't want to use theorist twice.
Yeah. So you can see here, but
Is
there's-
that the powerhouse? where you-
Yeah, the style
ENTJ
powerhouse.
is the style powerhouse, the standout stylist.
Yeah.
What's the ENTP? I mean,
ENTP is the style chameleon, and
Enterprising stylist. Yeah.
I
We spent a lot of time on these words.
I had about a 20-year career in the public sector where I'd never worn a jacket even. I got a job with a consulting firm. They said you're hired by a suit.
Mm.
And I tell you what, I was reluctant, but once I was in that suit, all I had to do was have a half a dozen shirts that fitted with
Easy.
it, and then I could wear it with the clients that needed a suit.
Beautiful.
so easy.
Well, that effort you had to save.
Yeah.
Demonstrating competence.
But-
The suit does it for you.
I was glad to see you really nod with the style chameleon because the interview we did, she talked about how, I mean, she plans like she's going on the stage to make the impression, right down to bringing her outfit to her hairdresser to make sure the hair matches, to put on the persona she wants. And
This was a deliberate choice because I knew that I got to get up today,
Mm.
but also I have a shirt in my bag that I will change into it for after. I was like, I will keep changing based on what I need to be. I'm kind of like, when I don't have to.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. We love that.
Thank you, style chameleon.
Yes. Okay. So here's a few things that we came up with regard to NT again, all on the website and will be in the slide packet. This whole accomplished thing, accomplishment, competence. I look like I know what I'm talking about. Really important there. We did find that there was sometimes some objections that can come, particularly from this group, to the conceptual idea that it even matters. Once overcome, then there tends to be an embracing of how I can just make this thing work for me. Yeah. And the group are most likely to think that style is fluffy and immaterial. NFs have different objections. Okay, let's talk about the NFs. Who has preference for NF in the room, please?
The other half.
Yes, the other half of the group. Fantastic. Who has NFs in their life?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what do we know? Tell us about NFs, please.
Authenticity.
Authenticity, yes. Love that. What else?
Values.
Values, yes, lovely. Thank you. What else?
Well, it's got to fit with everyone's harmony.
Fit with everyone's harmony. There's a global harmony kind of thing, yeah? Absolutely, yeah. What else?
Individuality.
Individuality, yes. Love it. What else?
Humanistic.
Humanistic, yeah. Absolutely. What else?
Making a difference.
Making a difference, yeah. Anything else?
Meaning.
Meaning, yeah, absolutely. The group most connected to the idea that clothing has meaning.
And it can be different. It's not static. It's like the opposite to the ST.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
Dynamic.
Yeah. So you can see some of you maybe can see some of the words we are using here for each of the 4 individuals. All of this is on the website. You get a sense of some of the words we're using. What do you think we might have come up with for a global term for, and it's just, what ideas might we have come up with?
Style experimentation.
Experiment. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Thank you for that. Yeah. I'm going to put you out of your misery. Style dream. And we chose this word because this has to do with if only my style could. If my style could do this for me. You know, in an ideal world, my style would. And this, we've used the term dreamer to encapsulate. Smiling, this is yeah? Yeah, connecting, yeah. Obviously, for the individual NF types, there may be some adjustment required to that, which is why the individual name is so important. But overall, what we got from all of our 4 NF types was that sense of dreaming. And of course, it comes up quite differently for each one of them. So here's some of the overview things that we found with NFs. This is the style type, the super style that we most apply what we call the accordion approach to. We need to go big into possibilities and connections and what could be. Then we need to bring it into a set of workable, practical things that, because sometimes the detail and the concreteness is where we can fall into a bit of a style gap in the sidewalk. Then we need to go big again into what the possibilities and connections might be and how we can relate to people and make change. Then we need to make it really practical and bring it in, and we need to have a list, and we need to have some photographs, and we need to have a shopping list. Then we need to go big again, and you get the whole idea of how the accordion approach is most applicable to the NS4 style to work. Because this is also the group most likely to have a wardrobe full of what we call orphans. Interesting items of clothing that have personal meaning but do not create a cohesive whole, making getting dressed in the morning difficult and time-consuming. Oh, sorry.
Can I just share coming away from New Zealand? We were talking about this there, and my husband said to me, "Well, you don't need a great big bag. You know, you're only going for 6 days or something." So I've got this huge case. And I put all these things in there, and he said, "Well, why have you got all those clothes?" I said, "I do not know when I will feel like wearing them."
No, but it's an intuitive thing in particular.
Yeah. So I had planned my outfit for yesterday. I thought, I should just got to get up early, walk the dog, do all these things, be here, make sure I'm on time. And at 3 a.m. this morning, I woke up and went, "No, I'm not in the mood for that."
It is
so then I lay there in bed,
yeah.
going, "What'll I wear? What'll I wear? What'll I wear? What do I feel like?"
And Jill, when did you decide what you were wearing today?
About 3 months ago. I'm actually wearing today, and I am wearing precisely what I planned months and months ago. I am wearing exactly what I thought I'd wear. We have a blog post called Your Mood Matters, Getting Dressed. And one of our ISTJ beta testers, she literally said, "I'm confused. What are you talking about? What's this thing called mood, and how does it affect how you go about the process of getting dressed?" Literally, the idea was confusing to her. She had no idea. Yeah, my entire wardrobe for this trip has been pre-planned weeks and weeks and weeks ago. Yeah. I know, it's terrible.
Yeah. So NF will rarely travel right.
It's more like I'm disgusted by the idea of I'm thinking so far ahead.
But I want to share one other just classic story, because one ENFP bought into the idea of the capsule wardrobe, where you pack for a trip with just 10 items that mix and match, and you're set. And she thought, "This is so smart, and the dark pants won't show dirt and all." And 2 days into the conference, she was borrowing clothes from Jill because she was so sick.
I was running clothes up and down to Jennifer's room.
Yeah. So this is what we mean, where you can make. We talked to an INTP who'd bought into the corporate wardrobe, hired a professional shopper, spent over $2,000, and this was 30 years ago. So think of how much money that is. Never wore a single item. So, this is what the report does for people, is go, remember one said, "No wonder I'm fine now with being boring. I was built to wear boring clothes, and I'm finally okay with it."
What style type do you think she might have been? Just pick a superstar.
Pick a superstar. What? Who would be happy wearing boring
Yes,
clothes?
ISTJ.
Yeah.
Sweater sets actually are fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a little bit of table activity. Oh, sorry.
One back.
Yeah.
Was the label for ENFP?
ENFP. Oh, yeah, sorry, there we go. ENFP down here. Style Inspirer, the charismatic stylist.
What's that?
The charismatic.
Because my sister.
Yeah, that's okay. You get the side pack. You get the side pack, and it's all on the website as well. So thank you for being with us this
We
morning. We are
appreciate it.
around for the entire rest of the conference. Please have a wonderful morning tea, and we'd love to continue the conversation.
Thanks, Imogen and Jill.